Hi, Demon Klung, Ultra Monologues. Yes, this is April 24, 2020. Yeah, that's how I thought. That was my reaction when I read this headline, when I read the article. Speechless. Just speechless. Like, what the fuck? Alright, so I'm going to read you some of it and, enjoy or whatever. Here comes. Here's the headline. More dead Jews than living passengers are flying into Israel. And you say, huh? And I say, that's what that said. Exactly. And here's the deal. Here's the story. Let's do the story on this one. Hold on just a second. Let's talk about the story. All right. Subheadlines. To ensure that their dead relatives will be resurrected faster than those buried elsewhere, Orthodox Jewish communities in the U.S. and Europe, hard hit by the C-19 pandemic, are having to fork out enormous sums of money to have funerals conducted in Israel. Yeah, like upwards of $200,000 per. All right, let me just say this: if you have $200,000 to spend to pay to have your body shipped off to Israel from, let's say, America somewhere, you got more money than you got sense. If you're dead, then of course, so your family apparently is going to decide to spend that money. And let's say perhaps it's your money, and they're going to say, well, Dad left us, $200,000 in inheritance, and we're going to spend it all to ship him off to Israel so he can, be resurrected faster than the rest of us people who can't afford to go to Israel and be buried, if we're Jewish, which I'm not. But I'm sorry, this is funny. I mean, seriously. Just like, excuse me, I'm just, it's like, I can't believe these people. Seriously, people? All right, let's read some more. All right, and here's what they had to say. There's a tradition that when the resurrection of the dead comes about, like that's going to happen, the people in Jerusalem and its vicinity will rise immediately, and those who are buried abroad will take another 40 years. So there's kind of like a delay in transport to living again and walking around like zombies before they go off to heaven. Really? Really? I mean, what? I mean, it makes my brain hurt. Well, I got to keep talking. I can't stop. Now, forgive me for laughing at people that apparently are laughable. Like there's going to be a resurrection, and they're gonna. That's just, I can't even. That's another whole funny right there. Anyway, let's try another one here. The rest of it. All right. Let's just go through this. Resurrection of the dead is a core doctrine of traditional Jewish theology. Traditional Jews believe that during the the temple will be rebuilt in Jerusalem. The Jewish people can gathered from the four corners of the earth and the bodies of the dead will be brought back to life and reunited with their souls. Where are their souls before they get reunited? Anyway, it is not entirely clear whether only Jews or all people are expected to be resurrected at this time. So maybe people that aren't Jews might want to be buried in Israel. Well, here goes. Maybe all people might want to be buried in and around Palestine area. Oops. Anyway, that's another story. Anyhow, the resurrection doctrine is fleshed out in a variety of rabbinic sources. According to the Talmud, all bodies not already in Israel will be rolled through underground tunnels to the holy ground. Avoiding this process, which is said to be spiritually painful, is one reason some Jews choose to be buried in Israel. Tunnels. Underground tunnels. I can see it now. There are bodies of dead people that have been dead for a long time and are bones or dust or ashes. And, rolling right along in these tunnels underground. Well, what's underground tunnels? Okay. I could just see it now. Woo! Just rolling right along there. Like tumbleweed? What? I don't know. Or being sucked through a vacuum tube. I don't know. Whoop, sucking you right into that Jerusalem area. Really, people. Now, it's one thing to laugh at people who believe this shit, like 1,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago or whatever the fuck. But it's a whole different level of funny. That people today, in the 21st freaking century, believe, their bodies are going to be rolling right along in those tunnels. Wow. I'm making lots of weird noises. Sounds like I'm having an orgasm or something, right? Anyway, well, I can tell you. Shit. Alright, the rest of it. According to one source in the aviation industry, there have actually been days recently in which more dead people arrived at Ben Gurion Airport than live passengers. Well, we know why that is. Catch this one. The health ministry officials are against this idea of long-haul funeral processions, claiming that a risk of infection from the bodies of the personnel handling them, the virus, the big one, but they have been overruled by Health Minister Yaakov Litzman, who only recently has recovered from the virus even. Think about that, buddy. Alright, when Israel under lockdown and global travel at a crawl, the cost of getting buried in Israel have spiked. Guess what? Because, it's either a charter plane or E1A1, which is, I assume, an Israel plane company. And, other expenses, fees for funerals and burial and travel for family members, etc. who want to. Really? So, okay, a total of 151 bodies of Jews who have died abroad were flown to Israel on either private or commercial flights between March and mid-April, a large increase over the same period last year. According to the figures that Israel Ministry of Religious Services, there is actually a Ministry of Religious Services in the fucking government of Israel. Ah, yeah, I forgot. Israel is a theocracy. And people complain about Iran being you know what I'm saying. Let's just ignore the fact that we have an ally, supposedly, that gets about $1 zillion of our money every year. Wow. Also another story. Anyway, the religious service, Ministry of Religious Services. Unfucking believable. All right, next. The longing to be buried in Israel is age-old. During the Exodus, the Israelites even carried Joseph's bones out of Egypt in order to re-enter him in the land God had promised them. Oh, excuse me. Guess what? According to the information I have, there wasn't any Exodus from Israel. Exodus from Egypt, because why? Because there's no evidence that there were any, like what, 20 million, 2 million, 100 million, a zillion million Jewish slaves in freaking Egypt, ever. Let's just say 2 million. Let's just say 2 million Jewish or Hebrew slaves in Egypt at any given time. Guess what? If you have that many people, slaves, living in a place like Egypt, you know what? Wouldn't there be some evidence that they actually lived there? Like some Hebrew towns or villages or remnants or even bones of dead people, pots, something. Which, by the way, according to my information, they never found any such evidence. Wow. So, guess what? I'm thinking somebody made that story up because they were never in Egypt. Not as slaves. Just doesn't add up, people. So anyway, that's also possibly another episode of Arctic Monologues. Alright, anyway, they didn't carry Joseph's bones out of Egypt because, didn't happen. Sorry. Just didn't fucking happen. 21st century, people. Get with it. Alright, what else is part of this thing here? He said. Okay, hold on. Let me look at this. Article says that 3 or 4 families had recently pooled something like $660,000 for a plane to fly their loved ones to Israel. Think about that. Here's a thought. Why don't they just cremate them? Since, they're going to be resurrected, so they'll be whole again anyway. And of course, if you've got a disease and your body is ravaged by disease and they put you in the ground, pretty sure there's not going to be, like, I don't know, some Jewish guy who was like a soldier in the United States military, God forbid. Anyway, and he was, and he got blown up and his legs got blown off and one arm blown off and he's got brain damage and shit and he dies. He's a Jewish guy and he dies and wow. And then so he's going to have his legs and his arm back when he gets back in there, when he goes to heaven anyway. So it's no big deal. So why not just cremate the bodies, put them in an urn and ship them off UPS, to Israel, and then put the urn in the ground and because they're going to be resurrected anyway. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait 40 years. Well, what's 40 years by comparison to eternity? Anyway, excuse me. All right. So that's the story of the day. So Israel doesn't have enough virus already. The C-19. They don't have enough. They have to import some in a body, in a what? Body bag, a coffin, what? Let's send some more. Okay, you guys, bring your dead bodies that died from coronavirus in America, let's say. Bring them on over. We'll probably not catch it from the dead bodies or anything. Right. Idiotic. I'm sorry. It's just fucking idiotic. And why? Just, like I said, it's the 21st century. What kind of brain damage did you suffer at some point in your life that you think that this is a real thing to do? I mean, seriously. Seriously. Just think about this. If this is a commonly held, well, apparently there's quite a few people that are like 16, 20, 30, 40 bodies over a period of this virus pandemic thingy. 100 Jews shipped off at that kind of money. How many millions is that if you multiply 200,000 by 100 people? What is that? $20 million? I'm not going to do the math in my head. Forget it. Just do it yourself. That's just insane. Believing that and then doing that. I'm sorry. I mean, I could laugh and just, ha ha ha, these people are so funny. And I mean funny like in the head. And if you're Jewish or Hebrew or whatever, and you're offended by me laughing at you for being a moron, tough shit. So anyway, that's the deal for today on that one. Alright, we'll have some more stuff like this because the headlines are, there's just endless possibilities for discussion. Well, monologuing, as it were, in my case. Endless numbers of headlines and articles and the comments on Facebook alone are enough to write 10 books, So, icky way. Anyway, I'll be back. D. McClung, Archer Monologues. Hey, be safe out there.